Y'all, I did not think it could get any worse. Genuinely, I thought the pinnacle of bad was achieved already, but it turns out that the disgraced Democrat representative who was texting Jeffrey Epstein just went on CNN and got raked over the coals as she says, and I quote, "Everyone does crimes." Y'all, this is turning into the biggest backfire I've ever seen, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of here for it. So, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. You can, of course, follow me on X at Braden LOA. Let's dive right in. I owe it to you guys to do this judiciously and quickly. All right, I'm going to open this up with something that I think you guys all need to see. Now, what I'm going to show you is the Democratic rep from the Virgin Islands. This is the same woman who basically avoided censure in a follow-up vote by, I think, one. So she avoided getting smoked by the Republicans and the Democrats after that initial vote that I showed you happened. And after she was saying that Jeffrey Epstein, it's fine for her to be texting him because it's her constituent. Okay. That was bad. That was not good. That was not a cute look. That had the Democrat leader, Hakeem Jeffries, being real uncomfortable, and then it came out later that he also got caught on it. CNN calls him on that in a second. But watch this. This is her new excuse. Again, keep in mind, they're talking about sexual crimes. They're talking about pedophilia and all sorts of very gross things. And this is what she says as CNN's jaws drop. Watch this.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things, I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can. I believe that.
Isn't that gross? It's amazing to me. And again, we're going to go big screen on this, and then I'm going to show you something from Hakeem Jeffries. Again, CNN. When CNN is calling you out, Democrats, you done goofed. Okay, and this speaks to an overall cultural just rot that's happening in D.C. because these people that I just showed you have been railing on anybody and anybody on the right side of the aisle that had anything to do even remotely close with Jeffrey Epstein, right? Anybody, if you looked at him, that you were guilty. This woman was texting him in congressional hearings, gets called out on it, gets exposed in the exact same Democrat leaked files from the Oversight Committee, and then her big answer is, well, he's a constituent. Then, after that doesn't work, it turns out that she just needs to go on CNN and go, people do crimes. Guys, don't you understand? People always do crimes. To the point where the CNN anchor goes, hold on, I'm sorry. He was convicted of sexual assault and trafficking children and predatory crimes. Yeah, people do crimes. Is that just a little bit disingenuous to anybody? Anybody across the spectrum? I would love to hear you in the comments if you think there might just be something a little bit wrong with that. But anyway, let's keep on going because apparently it's only a crime if it can be politically expedient. So now let's talk about Hakeem Jeffries, because you guys know that Hakeem Jeffries last night, it was exposed that, you know, he was kind of involved in fundraising with Jeffrey Epstein, and people kind of wanted some money from him, and they were all basically offering Hakeem Jeffries to go meet with Jeffrey Epstein at Democrat fundraisers. It's a little uncomfortable to the point where even CNN shifts. And Caitlin Collins goes, yeah, so you're avoiding the question on Plaskett, even though that's incredibly uncomfortable, and she just openly said people do crimes. You know, whatever, it's a constituent. But since we're not going to talk about her for a second, why don't we talk about you for a second? Y'all, again, I'd like to reemphasize. If you are on the left and you have CNN calling you on your BS, you have a bit of an issue. You gone too far, you done goofed, as they like to say where I'm from. All right, check this out.
For being here. Obviously, a lot of movement up on Capitol Hill today. And you heard Stacey Plaskett there. She was arguing her texts with Jeffrey Epstein were not illegal. But in your view, were they appropriate?
Well, Stacey Plaskett is not accused of violating any House rule, any law, any statute, and she's clearly and unequivocally denounced Jeffrey Epstein. And I think what the survivors fought for today is the type of transparency that came out of the House, went through the Senate, and is now on its way to Donald Trump's desk, where hopefully he'll sign it into law, because at the end of the day, all the American people are asking for is just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which is why these Epstein files that Donald Trump and his administration has been hiding for months need to be released.
Do you guys smell politics? Let me give you a hint of the aroma. It smells like BS. It goes around a circle and a drain and always seems to stay there in the pipes, where there's this smell that just won't go away. And it overall induces nausea, vomit, and disgust. Because it's quite clear what he just did. She didn't do anything ethically illegal. Yeah, but your entire caucus, every single Democrat, has been banging the war drum about how evil Donald Trump and his campaign and his access and his administration are for the Jeffrey Epstein files. You guys are all over him. You have your money everywhere. You have all sorts of communications with the guy after he was convicted of all the crimes you say Donald Trump did. And your big answer is, well, it's not unethical to speak to a constituent. We're fine, right, guys? But you know what? Those same things, Donald Trump is so evil for hiding them, even though when we were doing the exact same thing and talking to the same people and soliciting the same funds, that's different because it was us. All right, let's keep on going. We got to let him finish, because this is about to get grosser.
But do you think it was appropriate for her to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein 11 years after he pleaded guilty?
I have not had a conversation with Stacey Plaskett to discuss this issue, because we've been focused today on making sure that there was a decisive vote as it related to the Epstein files and the release. I'm thankful for the work of Representative Massey, of Ro Khanna, but most importantly, the survivors.
Do you plan to talk to her about it?
I think that we successfully defeated a resolution that lacked any basis, was not credible, and was being brought by an individual who was trying to weaponize this issue to reinvigorate his own failed gubernatorial campaign in South Carolina. It was rejected on a bipartisan basis on the floor today. That's the end of the story.
Yeah, I was just asking if you personally believe messaging with Jeffrey Epstein, who was at that point a registered.
So here's the point, guys, and this is the entire tape. Again, if you've lost CNN and you have a D for your political affiliation, you've done something wrong. They are in the tank for you 100%, and that's pretty rough. But again, inducing feelings of nausea, inducing feelings of gross and disgust, that's an example of that. It's perfectly fine to be talking to the guy who's Satan himself, but then Donald Trump hides the files about Satan himself, and therefore Donald Trump was evil. But we're all about transparency, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'm not going to answer this question because it's very uncomfortable, and I was actually tied to this as well. So we're not going to talk about that because it's not unethical, but we are going to talk about how unethical it is for Donald Trump to be in the files. But if we're in the files, it's ethical. You see how this game works? It's all politics all the time. That's exactly what it is. And it's a disgusting approach, in my opinion, because they've seized on something that goes against the very nature and core of humanity as a whole, of you don't mess with children. It's pretty simple. But they're capitalizing on that politically because that's the only thing that they have left, even though they are literally all over this stuff. It's wild to me. But that's okay. We're going to get through it all the same. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.